Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is this amazing soundtrack? Because, really, that's pretty fantastic. Oh, just listen to this bloody thing. Yeah. If you're going to make a video game soundtrack and you're going to use guitars, make it like this. Unless you're kind of doing this sort of Spanish acoustic guitar thing, which would be appropriate to your game in question. Otherwise, do this. So, the Showdown effect. This is a forthcoming game from the guys that brought you Magicka, the go, of course, by the name of Arrowhead. This is the initial beta of the game. I've actually played a number of alpha and pre-alpha versions of this, and every time something's gone horribly wrong. This is not unexpected because it's Arrowhead, and they're not exactly known for having bug-free games. Indeed, Magicka, which was still one of my favorite games of that year, was buggy as hell. I got lucky. I didn't experience most of those bugs, but I know for a fact that many other people did. And if it weren't a $10 game, I think people would have been way harsher on it. So, the Showdown effect is also a $10 game, or $20 if you want the optional digital deluxe edition, and they let everyone into the beta, essentially, to play when you pre-purchase the title. So, got in, I thought, right, let's have a look at it. This is a pretty basic beta version. It's definitely missing a lot of the features. I know this for a fact this time around, as opposed to the Crisis video, where it's like, oh, this game's coming out in like less than a month. I don't know what's missing here. I know what's missing here because I saw it in the pre-alpha stuff. So there's a lot of weapons and loadout options that are missing, but we can show you the game anyway and actually get into it, because every time I've tried to film this game, I've failed miserably. Stuff that is missing is a proper options menu, for instance. I don't know what the hell's going on here. This is not an options menu at all. You can at least rebind your keys and things like that, as you can see. Always good to keep an eye on that stuff. Now, the question is, what is the game all about? Well, it is a two-dimensional multiplayer deathmatch game, which is based on a lot of action movie tropes. So, if you were wanting an example, think a mixture of the old game Soldat with something like Action Half-Life or The Specialists. That's pretty much what this game becomes. This is not a bad thing, by the way, by any stretch of the imagination. You can see, this is basically how you play the game. It's not especially difficult. There is certainly some depth and nuance to it, but as you can see, there's a variety of different weapons available and things like that. I don't know, I don't know what it is. I keep failing miserably when trying to actually go down platforms rather than up, so this is kind of going to handicap me in this game, but we'll give it a shot. Anyway, let's look at the customization. So at the moment I have two characters available. These are pretty much default. You've got Dutch McClone and Haley Sky. They are very much action movie tropes. This is your sort of highly generic Arnold Schwarzenegger guy. I mean, for God's sake, he's from Austria.
This is worse than my last vacation.
Yeah, sounds like that. So you can do some limited customization here. You can pick his primary weapon. I could actually have a sword and another sword if I wanted, but it would be pretty pointless. I'm fairly sure you can't dual-wield swords. So SMGs, shotguns, these are terrible, by the way. If you do play this beta, this is absolutely useless right now. Completely worthless. It needs to be buffed. The machine gun's not too bad. I quite like the SMG. It gives you a lot of mobility, and it's a fairly decent damaging weapon, although it does have a tendency of spraying everywhere. And the katana is a sword. You also have a special ability. Now, in the alpha version I played, you were able to customize way more than this. And in this case, you can see I can't actually change his ability. That seems to be bound to him as a character. I don't really know if they've decided that that would be the best way to do things, or if it's simply a case of them locking it down for the purposes of this beta and they're going to unlock it later on. Two additional characters there. Each of these guys also have special abilities. This guy, I think, has some kind of flying kick. I can't recall what he does. But one way or the other is like the retired Kung Fu master, the cop that has one day left till retirement. That kind of standard action movie trope stuff. You can also unlock a couple of weapons. Not a huge amount. I haven't unlocked the pistol yet, and there's the RPG, which is actually not that great at the moment. And then there's also optional weapon skins and these wearables. So this is the kind of thing that you're going to want to get if you want to completely customize your gear. If you want to be Neo, you can buy the Neo coat, the Neo sunglasses, the Neo pants. So I imagine there's going to be a metric ton of that stuff, but again, it's not really in the beta right now. If they launch with just that, then it will be an absolute waste of time, and here's hoping they don't do that. Alright, so let's go into a game and show you exactly what's going on with it. Best go to a custom game. Ranked match doesn't seem to work all that much. And yeah, let's see if we can get into that one. Hopefully we can get into that one before it fills up. 8-player is the maximum available here, and currently in the beta there is one mode, which is Showdown mode, which is essentially a free-for-all deathmatch with an optional last man... Well, it's not so much optional, you have to do it. A last man standing thing at the end. Now, there's 2 levels available in the beta right now. There's Medieval Madness and Showdown in Neo Tokyo. This is Medieval Madness, which means a lot of medieval-themed stuff, as well as medieval-themed weapons. Now, speaking of weapons, you do have a nice little, you know, the Gears of War style mechanic of the skill-based reload system. Oh, okay. I wonder if they actually just buffed the shotgun. That would suck, wouldn't it? Well, there goes my head. So you can hit the reload button at just the right time to get a high-speed reload. The levels are also covered in different items, like this one, for instance. I just actually threw that... Oh, ouch. Where the hell did he come from? Did he just spawn there? He very possibly did. It seems like there's only fairly limited spawn locations in the game, which often results in guys spawning next to you and then killing you because they get a couple of seconds of invulnerability, which is not so good. I'm not sure what I'm wielding here. I'm wielding money. Okay. I don't know how good money is as a weapon, but... Oh! Did they buff the RPG since yesterday? I'm pretty sure it didn't used to be able to do that. Anyway. You can pick up a lot of different weapons within the game, some of which are just useful for throwing at people. And otherwise, there's pretty much no point in having them. Stuff like the knife, this attacks faster than the sword, so there's definitely a lot of use for that, plus it's not a bad throwing weapon. And you can grab that in addition to the other weapons that you've got. There are some weapons where I say, well, why on earth would you get that? And you know, stuff like the broom and things like that, it's like, oh, this is not going to go well for me. Oh, especially since the guys just spawned on me. How terrible. But there are things like the halberd and the giant battle axes and the huge fire axes, which are actually really, really useful. Try and dive over him. There you go, you can have some of that. I'm going to turn my personal shield on. Oh, he's running off. And it looks like we're about to get a showdown. Which means that this is last man standing. Once you're dead, you're dead. Everyone goes back up to full health, thankfully, which is always good. There we go, one down. Reload. I don't have enough energy for my personal shield ability. You might have seen me using that earlier. Each character has a special ability. As I said, there's supposed to be some customization involved there, but it seems like they're currently bound to specific characters. So this guy has a personal shield, which is taken right from the Dune movie, which I very much like. That's a nice little reference. I mean, these guys are always known for their awesome references, and the personal energy shield is just that, so that's pretty cool. So as you can see, it's for the most part about some stylish platforming and a mixture of melee and ranged combat. Now, the cool thing is the actual fidelity of the combat. It's two-dimensional, right? But there's actual damage done to the back walls, which makes things look very, very visceral, much more so than I would expect. There are some acrobatics involved. You can do a flying leap. You can also do a crouching slide. And you have the ability to wall jump pretty much until the end of time. I don't believe there's actually any restrictions on that whatsoever, which is definitely pretty nice. And you can also deflect bullets. Yes, you can block bullets, because why not? The earlier versions of the game actually had an energy bar for dodge, which would allow you to do a sort of Neo-style dodging maneuver around bullets, which looked pretty nice, but you'd burn the energy bar out pretty quickly. It seems like they've decided to get rid of that. It may be because it actually caused ranged weapons to be way, way underpowered, because it was way too easy to just avoid them constantly, so there was a big emphasis on melee weapons. Seems like they've got the balance off a little bit better here, but as I said, the shotgun sucks right now, and there are some situations where melee weapons just completely outshine the ranged weapons. Essentially, if you get in close range, there's kind of a sort of a mini stun applied to pretty much every strike, which means that when you get locked in combat, and if you don't have a melee weapon out, you're probably gonna die. The melee system is fairly simplistic. It's essentially just tap the left mouse button to attack, the right mouse button is block. You can also do that slide and that dive, which is quite nice. You can actually push people off the sides of buildings like that, which is pretty neat. And there's occasional things like that sort of Dragon Punch style maneuver that you can do. Unfortunately, it seems like the Showdown last man standing at the end gets people really, really bored because, you know, they quite literally have no patience whatsoever. I quite like watching these guys. It looks like they're probably going to end up dying now. There's a lot of swords involved. So, yep, that's one down. And then he goes down. There we go. And you get the nice little bullet time thing, and then he bleeds to death. I think if I were to have a problem with the melee system, it would be just a lack of depth and nuance, really. And I think that the game probably has quite a bit of that, just in the way that movement actually works. But at the moment, it's really hard to judge, simply because there's a lack of weapons to really actually check out. There's also this nice kind of scrolling credits thing at the end of every match. And they have a weird CRT sort of scanline thing going on as well in terms of that aesthetic, which I kind of like that. I mean, they've taken the theme and they've taken ownership of that and gone all out with it, which I very much enjoy. They also have the motif, I suppose, from the actual game, the soundtrack. That really great guitar riff is pretty much in every level in some way. Like the elevator music on Showdown in Neo Tokyo is actually that. And then there's the medieval version, which I assume they play on a lute or something like that, in the Medieval Madness level, which I definitely like. Oh, there we go. So that's how you do that. I was doing it in the wrong key combination. Alright. There's a couple of other things that are sort of not fully explained yet as well. Like, I've just picked up an umbrella, for instance. Now, you've got to wonder why exactly would I do that. Surely the katana is better in every single way. And I think that it is. I don't see any evidence that it's not. And that kind of weirds me out, because it seems like, why would you have all of these improvised weapons around the level when most of them actually suck, right? I mean, using the axe, for instance, this makes perfect sense, because something this heavy, it's really, really slow, but you actually get a one-shot with it, which is pretty incredible. So it's worth doing that. It's a good risk-reward thing, but getting an umbrella when everyone's pretty much running around with a katana, I don't really see the point in that. And the blockers as well. You know, the stuff like the money bag and the sort of thing that just ends up being kind of like a shield. What is the point of those things, I have to wonder. It's almost like they wanted to have an emphasis on improvised weaponry and yet never really did. And it's mostly because your weapons don't break. So why on earth would you pick up an umbrella? It seems to me like if you want to make this work, you've got to make the melee weapons break on a fairly frequent basis. You also have the ability to throw your gun, but because you have so much ammunition, there's really not a huge point in doing that unless you stay alive for a very, very long time. I like the notion that you would burn through your clip and then just throw your gun at them, and maybe there's still like a valid reason for that, simply because it takes quite a while to reload, but even then, I'm not entirely convinced. It seems like that there needs to be a bigger reason for people to actually use all this stuff, and right now there isn't. Oh yeah, he's gonna screw me over completely. Oh god, that's a rocket. Oh man, I haven't reloaded. Yeah, there we go. I'm just trying to avoid the rockets that are coming my way. Never mind. So that's what I'd like to see, and I think that would actually make a better game if your melee weapon's constantly broken, you had to look around the level for more stuff. Just basically steal the mechanics from Power Stone there. Power Stone, you often use suboptimal weapons because it was it was really hard to keep a weapon for more than a few hits, because either you would get knocked around, you'd lose it, or it just disappeared. So that encouraged a lot of combat variety, and I definitely enjoyed that, and I thought that was a really, really good idea. I did pretty well there. I was fairly happy with that. So it would be nice to see that. Or maybe just have a mode where it's just called scavenger mode or whatever. Maybe you start with a pistol with one clip, and you essentially either have to fist fight or just grab any weapon around the level, like this pool cue, for instance. Would I use this over a katana? Is there any reason to? It's hard to say because it never actually tells you stats. I mean, there you go. I'm just gonna beat you up with the pool cue. I'm pretty sure that takes like one more hit than the katana does. I'm not sure if it's got any more reach, but yeah, just something to consider there. It would be nice if you went up to a weapon and it gave you a quick visual indicator as to, say, a couple of stats like speed or reach or whatever, and then maybe you could make a quick fire decision there. Guns-wise, I don't really have a problem with the way that guns are handled. They're pretty good. I think maybe there's some stuff missing in terms of potential moves that they could use, like whole idea of leaping backwards with guns in a sort of dual akimbo Neo style, or the sort of hard-boiled look would actually be really good. There we go. Activate my personal shield so he can kill me. That would be nice. I think that there's just a lot more stuff they could add to this to add depth and combat variety that obviously currently isn't in the game. And it's just like, how much of that is due to it just being a beta and how much of that do they just flat out not intend to put in? That's what really concerns me. Oh, hello. There we go, that's you dealt with. I think this might actually be one of those rare times where I end up running out of ammo.
Playtime is over.
She's gonna punch me to death, isn't she? I hate her so very, very much. Good lord. Positives, though, I mean, the actual combat is really quite fun. You can pull off some pretty neat tricks. I would hope that you'd be able to pull off more tricks in the full version. I think the more combat depth this has, the better. It's deceptively simple, but it doesn't quite go far enough. It would be really nice to see some super skill-based stuff in this game, but for the most part, it's just a case of, well, can you jump at the right time? Can you slash at the right time? Because the combat system doesn't have a lot of nuance to it beyond that. So I definitely think that that's something they could do, and the game would benefit a huge amount from that. Alright, showdown time. Here we go. There you go, you can have some bullets. I'm just going to sit here kind of sniping at them because I'm a horrendous coward. Where's the other guy? I know it went down here. There you go, have some bullets. You know you want to. Shotgun's bad. Sorry. I kind of feel sorry for him because that was the first weapon I bought and it just ended up being awful. And it's outpaced by every other melee weapon, every other ranged weapon in the game. So that's kind of unfortunate. Oh, there you are. There you go, you can have some more bullets. Oh dear. Oh man, I didn't have a personal shield. I hit my control key and it died, but there we go. I am down, so I can watch the rest of it. Ah. I love the aesthetic of it. I love the music. I pretty much love everything about all of the corny one-liner references and things like that. They actually put out a trailer, and I found it hilarious. Some people are like, oh, this is lame. It's like, wow, you just don't have a sense of humor. I have a feeling that there's this sort of demographic of people that maybe just turned 18 that think they're smarter than they really are. And it's like, oh, I really hate dumb stuff. And like, I think as you get older, you gain a new appreciation for that kind of thing. And I think this game is very much that. It does evoke a lot of interesting 90s action movie tropes as well as a bunch of anime stuff and things like that. I think if you can mash all of those things together, then you will be in an absolutely fantastic position to make a really interesting video game. Plus this. There's a couple of other things I'm concerned about. There's definitely an issue with the way the servers are handled because there aren't any dedicated servers. I have seen this cause a lot of problems. So there's two main issues. One, of course, being lag and warping around the screen. That's obviously kind of a huge deal. So that needs to be resolved immediately. Netcode was definitely not their strong point with Magicka either. The second problem is that there appears to be some kind of lag compensation going on, which is fairly common for video games these days. But unfortunately, it's resulting in a lot of mutual kills. And this is not what you want. This is something that PlanetSide 2 has a problem with, and I believe they resolved a bit of it in the latest patch, but it's still there. It's essentially where lag compensation works in such a way that both people kill each other at the same time, even though that shouldn't actually happen, because it's trying to compensate for lag and make everything fair. So in the time that I've played Showdown Effect thus far, I've run into quite a few of these weird double kill scenarios, especially with melee weapons, where you think, well, this is clearly going to hit before the other, and yet the lag compensation says, well, no, they both kind of hit at the same time. Like, no, it didn't. So I've definitely got to nail that down. I'd imagine it's less of a problem on LAN, but a lot of people are going to be playing this on the internet, so that's something you definitely need to sort out. Aside from that, I think it's going to be a pretty damn fun deathmatch game as long as they can add some more modes. They just need to add more everything, right? You know, this is very much their initial beta, and this is not a, oh, this is a marketing beta. It's not. And this is not like Crysis, whereby we know the game is coming out in like 25 days and it's pretty much feature complete because they're already pressing the console discs, right? This is not the case. These guys will probably be working right up to the launch date on this, and chances are it won't work at release, at least if Magicka has anything to go by. But I mean, it already seems more stable than Magicka, if I'm totally honest. I haven't had the game crash or anything like that, so That's always nice. And aside from lag compensation and some warping issues here and there, it seems to work pretty well. Movement is fluid. And overall, the game is just a really fun experience. And I think that if they polish it up and actually really add some more depth to the combat and things like that, then you'll be in a wonderful spot with this game. Yeah, get down. There we go. I'm just going to then grab Excalibur and wander around with that. Because, oh, hello. Apparently this is a pretty big weapon. Oh, he parried it. He parried it. The little bastard parried it. Oh, disappointment. I should have just thrown it at him. Why not? Yeah, so I think there's a lot of cool ideas here. This is a good framework for a really awesome deathmatch game. And just those sold-out vibes and the action Half-Life stuff. It's a game for people that played all that stuff. You know, those older titles back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And are looking for another crazy-ass deathmatch experience. I also like the graphics style. It's got this weird kind of, I wouldn't say washed-out look to it, but the way that the explosions look is very unique. I haven't seen anything like that before. They could have very easily just gone for the straight-up kind of cel-shaded comic book style or anything like that, but they didn't. And this sort of pseudo 3D effect that they've got going on actually looks great, which I'm fairly impressed by. Oh, you're going to regret that, son. And then you get moments like that, where you put on the personal shield, the rocket bounces you right into melee range, and then you slice his head off with a katana, which, you know, there are games where you do not get that, let's be honest. And then, I don't know, I assume he lagged out. That was unfortunate for him, but hey. Oh man, this is going to get bad. Currently, you can get a hold of the beta if you decide to pre-purchase. Obviously, if there's any improvements to the beta, I'm going to try and keep you posted on that, because what I'm hoping is they just take the time to get this bloody thing right. And they've already been waiting for a while. I last played the Showdown effect, I think, a year ago. Very, very basic pre-alpha version at an event in London. And I actually showed you that as well. And, you know, there wasn't really a lot going on there, but there was a ton of mechanical changes. So it seems to me like they're willing to change a lot of things within the game. I just hope they don't do so in such a way that actually dumbs the thing down. I want to see more complexity to combat, and I just want to see a higher skill cap in general. Alright folks, there you go. That is the Showdown effect, currently available if you pre-order on, I think it's just Gamersgate that's currently doing it, and maybe a couple of other stores. Yeah. Well, that was a bit derpy, but there you go. And you can currently pre-order it for $9.99 or $20 for the Digital Deluxe Edition, which comes with a few more unlocks and cosmetic things here and there. My name's been TotalBiscuit, and I shall see you next time.